I would like to welcome Lizzie Alberga to the Amani Experience podcast.
Hey everyone, what's up? Excited to be here.
We are excited to have you here with us. We always do a geographical check-in, so tell us where we are right now.
We are in Marina del Rey, California, in Los Angeles,
Yes.
at the Riveter.
Yes, the Riveter. I like this place too. I've never been here before. So very nice. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in
Nice.
Fremont.
Fremont, got it.
which has a Tesla plant now.
Okay.
Which is what it's famous for at this point. And it's a suburb of San Francisco, and it's about, 30 minutes south of Oakland
Got
or
it.
20 minutes north of San Jose.
Okay. So you a big sports fan like Giants, 49ers, Warriors?
Well, I'm a big sports fan to play sports. Watching them, I like to be more on the court than in the audience. But I did grow up in high school going to a lot of Giants games.
Okay, good. And what sports do you play or did you play?
Well, in high school, I was an 11-star varsity athlete.
Ooh.
So, or I guess 11 letter. So I did track, cross country, and soccer.
Okay.
And the last year I didn't do, what was it? Track. I didn't do track because I was senior class president. And so I just decided to take a quarter off.
Yes.
For the sports. And I still like to do a lot of sporting events. But my husband and I just went to a Laker game.
Okay.
It's Lakers versus Clippers.
All right.
I feel like I was kind of rooting for the Clippers, but he was a Lakers fan. So we went, and at the end I was like, yeah, I think I'd rather be on the court. I think that's just like a sentence that describes me. I'm like, put me in the game, coach.
Okay. When you played soccer, what position did you play?
Center mid.
Okay. Also, so you did lots of running. I grew up playing soccer, still play now.
Did you?
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, even
I'm
played
looking for an
co-ed.
adult league.
Really? Played co-ed too.
Yeah.
So if you know, was it Wednesdays and Thursdays down in Manhattan Beach? So
Oh, I'm there.
Okay,
Send
we
it
could
to me.
talk.
I just told my husband because he played soccer too.
All right, nice. Look at that. Common threads all over the place. How did you end up from the Bay Area to UC Irvine?
Well, I went on a college tour with some friends, and I went to UC Irvine, I went to UCLA, UC Davis, all the UCs really. And I think there might have been one or two private schools. I don't remember. All in California. And I just liked how UC Irvine felt. I did apply to UCLA, UC Davis, and UC Irvine. And I got into Irvine and Davis. I didn't get into UCLA. And so I chose UC Irvine, and I think it was like the perfect place for me because it was also, Irvine's kind of like a bubble itself. And for someone who grew up in the Bay Area, pretty sheltered. I mean, it was just suburbia.
Right.
And I was an athlete. I didn't really get into drinking or drugs or anything in high school. I was like super straight arrow. So it was a really good place for me to go to college because if I would have gone to UCLA and been in LA, it might have been a little
trouble there. All right, and then so you had you were economics major there. What was your first job out of school?
Well, I had jobs in school.
Okay, well tell us then.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I was a tour guide
Okay.
for UC Irvine, so I can walk backwards and talk. Thank you very much. I also was secretary or admin for a startup.
Okay.
My first startup experience.
All right.
I think it was called Copernicus Networks. It was
Got
like
it.
smart guys. This was in early 2000s. So it was like the dot-com boom and before the bust, of course. I think, or maybe it was after. Anyway, and I got paid $15 an hour, which was a lot.
Yeah.
For 2001
Yes.
in college. And so that was awesome. And then I worked at Allergan, which is a pharmaceutical company. Makes a lot of like refresh eye drops and whatnot. And I think they Botox too. They sell Botox. Anyway. And I was like a business development sales analyst, which was my first real job in a corporate setting. And I was responsible to produce the sales report for the VP of sales every morning. And my heart would always be racing and pounding when I was doing that, because if it was wrong, oh my God, like the VP, I'm just like 22-year-old or 20-year-old, I guess. And it was like really stressful, but I did that, and they offered me a job after college, but I ended up not taking that job and going to work for Disney.
Right.
In their consumer operations.
Yes. So you went from Disney, and then like you also worked, let's see here, like The Knot, Levite, Happiest Baby, Urban Center. Like, how did you find your way through all those different positions?
Yeah, I always wanted to work for companies that I really believed in their product or service, especially if I'm in marketing, sales, or business development. Like, you've got to really, at least for me, really care about what I'm putting out there and where I'm putting my energy. Even when I was younger, I always had that belief. And so Disney just I just applied, and then going to the Knot, a friend of mine, I went hiking with her, and I said, I'm not happy. And I was in operations and finance. I was an econ major. I thought I was going to be an investment banker at one point. Could be farther from that now. And she said, oh, you should try marketing. And I have a friend that works at this company. They're hiring someone as a marketing coordinator. So, I landed at Wedding Channel. Then the Knot bought the Wedding Channel. So then I worked for the Knot. And then my boss went from Wedding Channel, went and worked at Evite. And then she brought me to Evite. So then I was at Evite.
Okay.
And then Urban Sitter, I applied online. It was just a blind application. I was 3 months postpartum with my third child. And I was like, I had said, this is some of the miracles of life that have happened to me, but I had said I want a job that pays a certain amount, work for female founders in a marketplace business where I can work from home. And there was one other thing. What was it? I don't remember what the last thing was, but I said 5 things I wanted. I saw this job online. I applied. Didn't know anybody there. You never get jobs you apply for online, especially when you're like further into your career, you have a higher salary. I applied. They called me. We met. A little long story short, I got the job. It was crazy. That was a wonderful experience. It's an awesome company. And then Happiest Baby was through a recruiter.
Oh, okay. So you've kind of covered the gamut of how to get jobs through your network, online application, recruiter.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I really think it definitely depends on your network is huge. But sometimes things are just meant to be.
This is true. Now, if you were going to pick like a favorite job out of the ones you had before you started working for yourself, which one comes to mind?
Oh, so many for different reasons and different times. I mean, I've loved all my jobs. I mean, Evite to me was probably my favorite for so many reasons because I kind of grew up there. I mean, I worked there for 7 years, and I went from a senior manager to a vice president, really the CMO when I left. And there was just a lot. I mean, there was a really amazing people for a lot of it. And I began my entrepreneurial journey there because I created a division from scratch that I had an idea about and an inkling about. And so it was just a really memorable time. And I was not only financially rewarded, but also really grew emotionally and in my management and professionally too. Yeah.
Good. Now, in your opinion, well, first let's try this. Now, as you are today, we're here at the beginning of 2019. So if you're going to summarize yourself in 30 seconds or less, how would you summarize yourself?
I'm a go-getter who understands the urgency of life.
All right. I love it. Quick and to the point.
Yeah.
Now, what do you feel is important for creative professionals to succeed in today's business environment?
That's a great question. I think a spiritual connection is really important, whatever that is for someone, a connectedness to something greater. Because here's the thing, very competitive. Anybody can put up a website. I mean, I can't. I'm not a developer. I can do everything basically that I need in digital. I can do anything. And so it's very competitive. And you have to have some sort of spiritual connection to remain clear of what you're doing, of why you're doing it, and to make it through the challenging times, because there will be challenging times. And when I say spiritual connection, that means a trust in yourself, a trust in what's possible, a trust in whether you believe in God or you believe in energy or you believe in the universe or you believe in whatever it is. It doesn't matter to me. It matters that you have some sort of belief that you can. From wherever you get that belief is critical, because otherwise when the challenging times come, you'll throw in the towel. So that's critical now more than ever. And I think also for people in corporate environments too, because you have to remain connected to being a human and other humans. You gotta keep that line. And in a digital world, it's easy to forget that.
It is. What is your spiritual connection to your career, your company now?
Yeah. Well, I do a lot. I mean, I meditate almost every day. I do prayer, gratitude prayers every time I go to bed. I believe in a higher power. I have literally quit a job. And when I was walking out of the boss's office where I quit the job, and I couldn't believe I quit the job, said to God or whoever, I said, listen, I just took the leap because I felt it. I need you to help me financially now. Like, I need some help because I just quit my job. And I got back to my desk, and there was an email from a friend who needed a consulting project done.
Boom.
So my point is like that trust that when I feel something deeply, that it's just right, but I don't really know how it's going to happen. When I take that step, that is part of my spiritual practice, that I answer the call. When I get it, I answer it, and I trust that something's going to work out. And that has happened to me over and over and over again, that when I feel it deeply and I take action, it works out. So some people will say, oh, I could just believe in God and pray and then just take the step and then the parachute will come. It doesn't always work that way if you don't feel it in your bones. It's like people say, should I just quit my job then like you did to start my own company? I'm like, it has to be the right timing for you. And only you will know when it's the right timing for you. And you will feel it so deeply. Like, you will know that's when you make your move. And that's when everything's ready for you.
So tell us what happened. Once you walked out that office, you had quit your job almost 2 years ago. Yeah. What happened? Why did you decide to start this type of company?
Well, I didn't quit my job knowing that I was going to start this company. I quit my job because I was unhappy. And I had started, I had hired a personal coach. But 3 weeks before I quit my job, I hired a personal life coach because I was unhappy and I felt really trapped. And I also felt like I've tried everything. Now what? Like, I've changed jobs a few times. I'm still not happy. So, like, this isn't working. And from that experience, just in the first 3 weeks, got really reconnected to who I am and what I want. And somehow within me, I just knew that staying in this role was going to completely inhibit my own personal growth for what I do want. So I needed to create a boundary and leave that position. And I was able to negotiate with them because it just worked out as a mutual benefit that I would consult for a certain number of hours until they found somebody new. So that gave me some financial float while I explored and experimented with like who I am and what I want to do. And I assumed I would go find another corporate job because my identity was completely wrapped up as a corporate executive.
Yes.
And then I only realized through coaching, 4 months into coaching, 4 months into coaching, that I was an entrepreneur. And I didn't believe it because my identity, my belief system was so wrapped in the identity of corporate executive that I had to put a huge, 15 by 24, like white Post-it note piece of paper on my wall that said, I am an entrepreneur. I had to write it out on the wall and look at it every day.
Interesting.
And underneath, I had to write why, because I just couldn't believe it. And once I put that there and I looked at it every day and I understood that, it's the ideas started to flow. And because I had such a transformational experience with coaching, and none of my friends were talking about coaching as a solution to the feelings of like being trapped and held back and stuck, I just had this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I have to do, is bring awareness to this awesome tool that is coaching to help you have an experience like I had of an awakening connection, self-actualization, understanding of who you are. And Collective Gain was born from that. So
I want to go back to that. You mentioned, first of all, 2 questions. What inspired you to hire a coach? Because you never had hired a coach before. And then a lot of people nationwide view coaching a little bit skeptically just because they think it could be like a scam or something. So how did you hire your coach, and what's your thoughts on how the perception of coaches, although it's improving, but you've been in it for a little while, so you've seen it kind of grow. So what are your thoughts on those 2 items?
So I hired a coach, again, I would say miracle, divine intervention. I was driving home on Culver Boulevard towards Playa Vista, heading home to El Segundo, and I felt like I had a light in my chest that was just about to go out. It was like an extinguish if I didn't do something. I was feeling gray, like the color of my body was leaving me. And I thought, oh my God, I have to do something. And out of the blue, this woman's name popped in my head. Call Sarah, the voice said. And I said, Sarah? I don't even know this woman really. I met her one time a year prior at a networking event I had put together. She was coach. No idea what coaching was. No idea how it worked. Nothing. Called. Had a conversation. Had another conversation. Had another conversation. And my first coaching experience was $10,000 for 6 months of coaching. What? What? Yeah. Oh my God. Like, that's crazy. Like, I thought it'd be like $5,000, maybe. And again, something in my bones told me this is the right thing for you to do. And I trusted that feeling and I did it. And it was worth every penny. And she was an amazing coach too. And it was transformational for me. And in that experience, it was very atypical of how people find coaches. Most people find coaches by asking a friend, or their company might have a list of coaches. Some might find them on Instagram or other places that they just start to like, or they meet at a networking event. For me, I had met somebody a year prior. I had only known one coach in my entire life, and that happened to be the right coach for me at that time. And so for other people, I think when they think about coaching and the slime of it, because there is. I mean, there's a slime because there's no accreditation needed.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's people who, have, whether they have a lot or little life experience, they just call themselves a coach. People want to be coaches sometimes because they're like, well, I'm going to travel the world and make money and have online programs and not work a lot and make money, so I'm going to be a coach. There are people with that intention. But companies like Collective Gain, we purposely find coaches where this is what their work is. WORK capital, work of their life. And I think you, as a person, should trust yourself to know who's legit and who's not. And life coaching, which people like to say, well, I'm an executive coach, I'm not a life coach. Executive coaches are life coaches. Did you know that 3% of coaches are hired to do personal work for somebody, an executive? Only 3%. 76% of coaches who are hired to do executive coaching do life coaching. Because our problems, we are the root of our problems, okay? It's not the job and it's not the boss. They could have issues,
right? But
it's your own interpretation and how you react and how you absorb and what you think and your beliefs and all this stuff. So life coaching is not tell me what I need to do with my life and I'm going to go listen to some 30-year-old tell me how to run my life. No, it's an unbiased person to talk to who should have a trained ear and how to give you reflection, how to mirror, how to help you see what you're not seeing. That's what coaching is. Okay.
I love it. If we think back to when you finished your 6 months, you spent your $10,000, 6 months with your coach, what are the top 3 takeaways you took from your initial coaching we'll say not double semester, so to speak?
So the biggest takeaway that I had from my first 6 months of coaching were my core values. It was something we did very early on in the coaching experience. Everybody needs to know their core values. This is why, because when things in your life are not working or you're not excited about how things are going, it's because one of your core values is being rubbed the wrong way. So the only way to know and dissect that, and it's not just going on a cleanse or going to Cabo, it's you got to look at what are my core values and what is not aligned. And so for me, I found out what my core values were. And as a 30 at the time, I think I was 35 or 36, I had no clue what they were. How is that possible? How can I be an executive woman, 36 years old, make tons of money, can manage a bunch of people, can create new products from scratch, and not know my core values? It's crazy to me now. And so that was the number one thing. And so I had these 5 core values, and the core values are basically what you need in life to feel happy and fulfilled. And if those core values are being met, you feel happy and fulfilled. If they're not being met, you don't. And if you know them, you're able to look at your current life and see where things are aligning or not, so you know where to dive in if something's not working. That was huge. I still use it to this day.
Okay.
The other thing we did early on was the I Am Life visioning map, where after getting to know yourself and doing some journaling and whatnot, you have a big piece of paper and you get a bunch of beautiful colored pens and markers and whatnot, and you put a heart in the middle with I am in the heart. And off of that and around that heart, you write a bunch of things of what your vision for your life is. And you can use colors and pictures and words, and everything is in present tense. And things should be about 50% true or 20% true now. And you write what your vision is for your life. Like, when's the last time you sat down and actually thought, like, this is how I want my life to feel. This is what I want my end game to feel like when I'm looking back. And it's not it's not like what your job title is. It's like, what are you doing? How do you feel? And so things like, I am inspiring millions of people to live their best life was on mine. Or,
Ooh, I like that.
I am well known. Or, I am traveling the world with my kids and my husband. Or, I am feeling connected and spiritually awakened. Those are all things that are on mine.
Excellent. Thanks for explaining that. Why is momentum your biggest ally?
Oh, yes. Momentum is everything. I mean, it's like habits. It's once you get started, it compounds. It's like compound interest. It's like savings when you're younger. I mean, it's just law of nature. I mean, think about like, snow coming down a hill. It's like, it's just a law of nature that once it's physics. Once energy starts moving, it's going to continue to go in that direction at a faster rate as it gains in mass. It's just the way it is. And so when you start, you are already moving towards your goal. One little step. It doesn't matter if you're taking a freaking inch step or you're taking a leap. You have to start. Think about all those times in your life when you have things you want to do and you're just sitting on the couch thinking about it or at your computer and you don't do it. The amount of mental energy one spends just thinking and sitting, it actually causes pain, right? It causes physical and mental pain, and I believe over time illness. And so all you have to do is do one step. So I was thinking about recently my fitness journey because I was a super athlete, as we talked about earlier, and then I had 3 kids in 6 years and was working like crazy and sitting a lot and not exercising. And I never got fat, but I also didn't feel good because I just didn't have muscle anymore and just didn't feel great. Like my bones started hurting. I'm like 35. How is this possible? And so this morning I was exercising and I was doing like this HIIT workout and I was like, wow, I could like throw in push-ups. I could do all sorts of things now that I couldn't do a few months ago. But really my journey started on getting my muscle strength back maybe 6 to 8 months ago. And it started by deciding, I think I'm going to go take a walk. And then that walk turned into a jog once in a while. And then that turned into, I saw this fitness thing online, like maybe I'll try that. Oh, maybe I'll buy some weights. Oh, look, there's a kettlebell on sale. I think I'll buy it. It's all these incremental decisions that you make, but I would not have been sitting on the couch and went and bought a kettlebell. Never. You know what I'm saying? So that's how momentum works. And it's critical to get started. Just take a step. It gets you out of being stuck.
Why do you feel it's so hard for people to get started? Because that's a common, I don't say illness, but it's a common inhibitor. People just love to talk about things, but they don't take actions.
No, it's because we are getting something from being stuck. You are getting something positive from being stuck, else you would not do it. Now, people, when you say that to people, they're like, no, I'm not. You for sure are. Now, that could be, like for me, I remember when a coach said that to me, like, what are you getting? I forget what my thing was. Let's just use an example. So, let's use the example of like not working out, since we're on that topic. You want to get in shape, but you don't do anything about it. And you keep talking about, what are you getting? Well, you're getting from that, you're getting this idea of like keeping yourself small. What happens if you start getting in shape? Are people going to start saying things to you? They might. Wow, you're looking great. Why are you changing things? Are you going to start being noticed? Do you like attention? Maybe you don't like attention. And what would happen? You're going to start getting attention. So the last thing you're going to want to do at that point is to like want to do anything to cause you attention. It's like whatever's keeping you stuck, it is not that thing. It's something else. And so ask the question, like, what am I getting from continually like not going to get a better job? Well, if I have to go get a better job, well, then I'm going to be judged in my first 3 months, I have to like reprove myself again, and I'm insecure because I really feel like an imposter. See, it's a rabbit hole.
It is.
You know? So the point is, it's like you just start moving, and you just have to decide, like, in 5 years, I will wake up exactly where I am if I don't take a step. Period. It's the way it is, right?
Yes.
So you have to ask the question, and then you just have to take one step.
Just one step.
Just one step. And it could be as little like you want to find a new job. Okay, you could literally just look at your resume. I pulled it up. I know where it is now. Great. You have found it. Perfect. The next thing, I'm going to make a list of things I did well this year at my job. Great. You don't have to touch it. You don't even put it on your resume. You just like made the list. I'm going to ask one person for a LinkedIn recommendation. Great. This may take you 3 months. Doesn't matter. Start. Because once you start, then you're going to start doing something every week. And then it's going to be, and then before you know it, you have a new job.
Yes, you do. When do you feel was the turning point in your career?
I feel like there's been so many different growth periods. Obviously, becoming an entrepreneur was the turning point for me. It's who I am, for sure. Whether I work for a big company or not doesn't matter. I'll always be in an entrepreneurial role. So that was the big one for me, is realizing that all those years in corporate where I had side hustles, it wasn't even for money. It was just because I wanted to be a creator of something. Or when I was in corporate and I created something from scratch, or when I created my own company, that's just who I am. And that realization and stepping into that role has been super fulfilling. Harder than any other jobs, but 100% aligned with who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people it's not easier, but it's much better.
Totally.
Yeah.
How is that? But it's true.
It's true. It's hard to explain, but it is what it is.
Yes. Yes.
Why do you love what you do?
Oh, because I'm helping people, and I'm employing coaches who do really great work in the world, that are heart-centered and good people and really believe in the future of humanity. At the core of what we do is help people connect with who they are and be their best. And there's like no better thing, I think, for me. We do, it's kind of sounds like grandiose, and I even like cringe thinking this, but it's like we change people's lives for the better, and then everybody they interact with. Once you experience who you are and you connect in a different way and you understand your triggers, you show up differently in the world. And I can't help but believe there's a ripple effect, a positive ripple effect from that.
Is there like a favorite story? It doesn't have to be a favorite story, but a story that you really love to share about a person, individual that you changed their life in like a very meaningful, impactful, or dramatic way?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and I think part of it is that the coaches that work for Collective Gain do this heart-centered work, and they see those transformations firsthand. The transformations I see are more with myself and with some of the coaches that I work with, because I'm not coaching the people directly. But some of the things people have said have been like, they've started a new job and said, this has been invaluable to me to have an unbiased place to get honest. Other people have said things like, my life course has completely shifted in a positive way, that if I didn't sign up and get coaching, I would have been like lived the rest of my life in the kind of what is the term they use, the balance of what life could have been.
Mm.
This is the thing that coaching changes. There is life unlived. Do you want to get to the end of your life and feel like there is life unlived? That is my biggest fear. For me to get to the end of my life and feel like I have life in me that was unlived. Hell no. It is all going out there. And if we all did that, I really believe the world would be solved of all of its issues if we all did it and we got clear on what was important to us. So that's what every single person who comes to coaching like experiences. Me and my story of what I experienced, thousands of people experience, tens of thousands when they get coached. The hardest part of coaching is saying yes. Mm-hmm. Because between having the idea of wanting a coach, to having a conversation with a coach you love, to saying yes, there's a lot of time when you're by yourself with your thoughts. And even for me, I just signed up for a new coaching program that's way more than I've ever spent. And I did it because I knew it was right. And again, that gut feeling and just the trust. But even I was talking myself out of it, of fear. So we do that. And I see it over and over again on Collective Gain, that people talk themselves out of it. Well, I don't know. Maybe now's not the right time. And maybe it's not. But often it's not that it's not the right time, because you came wanting it and knowing it. It's the feeling inside of doubt, fear about money. I could do this later. I could do it by myself. And the answer is probably not. You won't, because you would have. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking for help.
What you were describing earlier reminded me of a book called Die Empty by Todd Henry, I think the author is, where he just talks about you make sure you die with all your gifts being given, so to speak. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah.
Die empty.
Die
It's so
empty.
true. It's like I just today was on a call with a mastermind group of mine, and they said, what's your intention for 2019? I said, exposure. I literally want to leave it all out.
Yeah.
I don't want to be calculating. I don't want to be showing one part. No, the whole thing. The beautiful disaster that is will be shown. Okay? Warning. Get ready.
On the flip side, what scares you?
Yeah, I mean, I think not leaving it all out there, or like getting to the end and not making it happen, of what I have in my head, the dream of what I want to give and create, not getting it right, like not being able to get it right. And that's the perfectionist in me, which is a whole challenge on its own. But like just never really getting it, like like having it in my head, but not able to like really translate it. I think that's the biggest fear. And maybe another one is just not being present enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, your industry, the coaching industry as a whole, is very crowded. How do you rise above all the noise and distinguish yourself from the competition?
Yeah. Well, in the corporate coaching world, there's there's a lot, but they're like more of a handful of like really known companies. We're easily distinguished because we're the only one that feels very human and heart-centered. Most of the other ones are very corporate. Even their websites, right? It's like blue and gray, and a lot of men on them, and in ties and suits, often with white hair. And we are not that. So we are whimsical. We are young. We are cool. We are relatable. We are women, mostly, not all. 90% of our coaches are women. You want to talk to us. You want to see us. We are on the cutting edge of all things self-development, from all spectrums of a holistic approach, from the very practical to the spiritual. And to me, we're the most human.
Done. Like it. Let's see here. How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I was thinking about this because there's a lot of failures, and I think the failures are just the lessons, right? I mean, from everything from trusting people too much, like getting ripped off by like a Nigerian.
They sent you an email saying that they had.
No, I was selling a car online. It was this. I was 20, and my mom, or 22 or something, and they were like, anyway, that. I was selling a car online. I was like, no, Mom, I'm going to do it myself. I could do this. And she was like, all right. And I ended up getting totally ripped off for thousands of dollars, when someone who's young doesn't have thousands of dollars. It was really hard. I had a lot of shaming around that for a lot of time. But now I just see it as like, to just not only trust your gut, but you got to look at things from all angles. And things aren't always what they seem. And it's not a bad thing. It's really an empowering thing, actually, because I'm not afraid of that or anything anymore, really, because you just have to trust yourself and look at all angles. To a failure being, I started Collective Gain as a direct-to-consumer business, and it really struggled to financially. People loved it, but financially, for people to say yes to make it work. And so then I shifted to business, which I really resisted. Because I want people to stand up for themselves, to empower themselves. But people weren't saying yes. They were like, yeah, kind of, I want to, but not yet. And so that was a failure. I mean, I pivoted my business to survive after 6 months, 8 months. And that was, it was also a godsend, because things, again, a miracle, just things happened at the exact month I needed them to happen financially. And it just worked. And I have an awesome, huge client, a bunch of smaller clients with some other bigger clients coming out this quarter. And that was totally unexpected. But, I started off with a premise that wasn't right. And there's more exciting things to come. So I'm sure there'll be more failures.
Good. Well, we live and learn. Keep it moving.
That's right.
Now, as you get to experience more success, you get more fans, but you also get more critics.
Yeah.
We call them haters. How do you handle your critics?
Well, what I've learned is that most haters have their own stuff. So whatever they're coming at you with is just a mirror of their own stuff. So I just am kind of like, okay, it sounds like you got some stuff, dude. Like, go deal with your stuff. Like, I'm over here feeling pretty good. So I'm going to stay in my canoe and you stay in your canoe. And you're throwing rocks into my canoe. But, like, I'm just going to put them back in and just go handle your stuff. And, everybody, that's okay. People want to hate. I don't get a lot of it, but I know I'll get more. Especially as I expose myself.
In 2019.
2019.
Yes.
But it's kind of like people fucking hate Oprah. How is that possible? who hates Oprah? People hate Oprah. I'm like, how do you hate Oprah? That's what I just go back to that. I'm like, okay, everybody's gonna have their thing. You know what I mean? And if I'm gonna be someone you hate, like, I feel like that's kind of okay. Gotcha.
Great answer. What would you consider your first moment of surrender?
Oh my God, every day. First moment. I think when I quit that job and I told you I walked out and I literally said a prayer to God as I walked out of the office, like, you God, please come in and help me because I just don't know what, I just quit a job and I'm the breadwinner for my family. And it showed up. So I think it also happens often. When I'm not in surrender, it's when things don't work. The best things in my life that have happened to me has been when I've been in complete surrender. My husband, my children, money that showed up when I needed it to, clients that have showed up when I needed to, the name collective gain, all of it.
How did it work out with your husband and you surrendering? Yeah,
so if I had met my husband like on Match.com or something, I would have never in a million years gone on a date with him. He hates when I say that, but it's true. And I was at my sister's wedding, and he was a reader at the wedding. He was a friend of the groom, and I had never met him before. I had met most of the other people in the wedding party, and we were in the California Mission in the aisle in San Jose, and we were doing the rehearsal. And I went and I met him, and I looked in his eyes, he looked in mine, and we introduced ourselves, and I felt like a push, like someone pushed me. It felt very intense. And all I thought was like, whoa, like that guy's weird and like really intense, like, whoa. And I just walked away like, okay. And my sister had been talking about this guy named Big D and how nice he was. He was always trying to find a nice lady. And I was like, whatever. I had already had my eyes on this other guy at the wedding, as we do. Any strategic woman would, as I did. And then I was, at the wedding, and my aunt, who's about 60 or 65, was dancing with my husband on the dance floor. Like, they were sweating. And my aunt looks at me, and she's like, points to this guy. She's like, this one. Like, with her thumb, she's like, this guy. And I was like, oh, that's that guy. He keeps asking me to dance. He kept hitting on me the whole weekend. And I was like, ugh, not interested. Not interested. He's 6'4". He's 300 pounds. Not a small guy. Bald. Shaved head, although I do like shaved heads. Smoked. Hated smoking. Never smoked in my life. From Riverside. Like, what? What? The IE drove a truck. I mean, like, who is this person, right? Like, none of it had a goatee. Like, none of this was in my realm of, like, interest, really. And then I was, like, very drunk. And my aunt was like, you should dance with him. And I was like, my aunt always had really good taste in men. And I danced with him. And it was magical. And there were fireworks. And he was so, like, whatever. So my moment of surrender was just, like, being open to who this person is and allowing him to show himself, which got past any judgments I had had. And it's like, that was definitely the best decision of my life, and the one that has truly impacted, like, there's, like, the trajectory of our life, my life.
Yeah. You're funny. You're a good storyteller, too. That's hilarious.
Well, I'm a trained marketer, but I am. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Tell us about the darkest time in your life, how you got through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, yeah. There's probably two. Well, it's so interesting because this one dark time in my life I'm thinking of, there was some of the most beautiful moments of life too. Isn't that funny? How one of the darkest times of my life are actually in the middle of when all my children were born. And the moments of my children being born are the happiest things. But I was in a challenging time. And it was at work where I was experiencing being bullied. And I never had experienced that before. And I didn't know how to handle it because I was naive. And I didn't have a mentor or a boss above me to help me with that. I didn't have a coach. And I really suffered emotionally without showing it because I had my own team. I had, I had to show up. I felt in a certain way. And I didn't always show up the best because I participated once I engaged because I didn't know. Now I know better. That's their stuff, not mine. But I didn't know. And it was really emotionally exhausting. And I really absorbed a lot of negativity. And I also didn't have self-care practices or spiritual practices then to cleanse myself of that and to have a mental framework to operate from. So I would come home and I would be mentally reeling over stuff. I'd be emotionally questioning who I am. I would be beating myself up. I would be thinking about, like, are they right? Is this true? Oh my God, I'm terrible. Like the whole stuff, right, that happens. And also during that time, though, I mean, it was like I was having my children and we bought our house. Like we remodeled it. I mean, so many dreams were coming true. But in general, the energetics of that period were dark. It's just hard to explain. Because the energy I was around, because it's at work, often, was so dark that I felt also that I was always walking, I was just defensive. I was like constantly waiting for a shot, you know? That was a really dark time. And how I dealt with it, I didn't always deal with it well. I dealt with it by removing myself from that environment.
Yeah.
I dealt with it by, when I got coaching, really talking about that. I dealt with it by creating now practices and understanding to keep my energy protected no matter who I'm around, by having visualization exercises that no matter what situation I'm in, I can remain whole even if there's haters around me.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your definition of fear?
Fear is what keeps you from moving forward. Fear is what keeps you in pain. Fear is what keeps you from, living what getting what you really want or making what you really want to happen. It keeps you small. So fear is inaction, really.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it.
Yeah. I like how you said fear keeps you small. One of my favorite definitions is false expectations appearing real.
Oh, false expectations. Yes.
Appearing real. I think that's from Zig Ziglar. Yes.
Totally true. It's
Yes.
like, and that's all based on your belief systems, which in
Mhm.
coaching you also uncover, of why, like, what is your belief if this happens? So
Right.
like, and if you can dive into that, you can start to move past the fear at a question, and maybe with an unbiased party, you can actually see that it's not real.
True. Now, who was the most influential person for you growing up?
Oh, of course, my mom. Yes, I think everybody says their mom or their dad. My mom was a elementary school principal and a 6th grade teacher, and she just really taught me professionalism, responsibility, being a good person, not always doing what you want, but what's right. All those things. She really modeled that. And she also was very ambitious. She was a single mom, and for quite most of my life. And really, I just can't believe what she was able to accomplish being a single mom now that I'm a mother, and keep everything tidy and celebrate birthdays and have Christmases and work and go to grad school and get promoted in her jobs and try to get promoted and not get the job and try again 2 years later, and just she's a woman of perseverance and duty, and my dad is the person of love and fun and like irresponsibility kind of. But she was really the one who I think gave me a lot of the foundations for who I am today.
Excellent. What do you find easy to do that your friends find hard to do?
Oh yeah, creates anything from scratch. Anything. I mean, the other day I had this idea for this business. Literally in like an hour I created an entire website and like a beta. And I sent it to my friends. I was telling them, they were like, what just happened? I'm like anything from scratch. You want me to bake a Yule log? I can bake a Yule log. Like whatever. Give it to me. You know, that's really my superpower is I can create something from nothing.
Love it. Love it. A business from scratch. Impressive. Now, when you were 21, you were still at UC Irvine, correct?
Yeah.
So we're going to go down the 405.
Yes.
We're going to get off, what's the road over there? Jamboree Road.
Jamboree.
And we're going to go and talk to 21-year-old Lizzie. If you can give your 21-year-old self some advice, what advice would you give her?
What would I give
based
her?
on what you know now.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say to her, like, there's what you think is possible is like 10 times more. And like, there isn't a road you need to follow. Like, go create your road. And men want you. Okay? Because let me tell you, every like college-age woman, most college-age girls, I should say, probably more accurate, are so insecure. Oh my God. It's like, if I only knew, like that insecurity I had with like guys I liked or dating or whatever, it's like, you have the power, ladies. So it's like, lean into it. I would have told myself that too. I think that would have, I had a lot of fun, but just been a little,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn?
I'm still learning it. Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. Everything is okay. It's perfectly okay.
I'm still learning the lesson of focus.
Oh.
I am a big ideas, big vision, big energy person. And I definitely, within my own business, the hardest thing for me to do is to be narrow and niche and focus. And I know in marketing, that's like a key. Be very clear so it's easy for people to say yes. Give them one thing to say yes to. And I have a hard time doing that because I can see the possibility for so many things that it's hard for me to. So that's a lesson I'm still learning, I think, in focus. And also goes with like your time and all of that.
Yeah. Now, previously, you have said that money isn't linear.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Gosh, money is magical. Okay. It is literally floating through the air, like literally floating through the air right now. And if you put your hand up, you can grab it and put it in your pocket. Like, seriously. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. Money comes from people, okay? Money is not a thing on a spreadsheet where you have a model and it works out that way. It just doesn't work that way. There are times when you believe that you're going to do this thing and money's going to come. And guess what? It doesn't. You create an online program, you start a new business, you create a consulting thing, you take a consulting job that then doesn't work out like it was supposed to. It doesn't follow your logic and plan and spreadsheet. It follows energy. It follows intention. It follows what you need and what you ask for and what you believe you're worthy to receive. So it's everywhere. Go on Instagram and look at any of the like billionaire kids out there. It's just, there's so much of it. And there's enough for everybody. And so all you have to do when you think about money is like, because I have a plan here, it doesn't mean it's going to come. And guess what? If it doesn't come, that's okay. It might come easier to you. You may not need to do a whole plan for it. And so you just follow your instincts of what brings you joy, where you're excited, what the little voice in your head says, and the money comes. I've had so many experiences where I've had things that worked out on a spreadsheet perfectly with a marketing plan. No money. I go to lunch with somebody, $100,000 later I have. I mean, it's like, what? That's what I mean. It doesn't, the way it shows up is not a funnel.
Yes, you're speaking the truth there. I love that explanation too. That's a very, it's just floating around. I'm just going to grab some right here.
Honestly,
I love that.
The other visualization I do on money just for people is you just have to, when you're meditating or when you want to call in more money, you've got to just visualize sitting on like a pyramid of it. How much of it is up to you. And then it's literally floating down from the sky on you, and you're sitting there calmly in warm acceptance and gratitude.
All right, we're going to visualize that. Let's pause for a moment, visualize that. But I like that, the pyramid with lots of money. Now, every great person has a sentence. What is your sentence? For example, my sentence is, I love to help people unlock their creativity by teaching them how to DJ.
Ooh.
What is your sentence?
I love to create space for people to get honest and truly know who they are so they can do their work in the world.
Well said. What is one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so that has been most beneficial?
Can I say 2?
You can say 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you for the permission. I'm being very polite.
You are.
Apple cider vinegar.
Oh, I just
Please.
had some this morning.
Oh my God, every
Yes.
day, tablespoon or 2. Please, everybody. Okay, that's 1. Number 2 is I have now started doing a power hour every morning. Well, 5 days a week, doing a power hour. It's amazing. I love it. It's a gift to myself, and I think everybody should create one. I'm just about to launch a fill-in-the-blank kind of power hour template for people so they can create their own. And this new habit is I get up at 5:30 every morning. Even if I go to bed at 3 a.m., I get up at 5:30. 5:30, 5 days a week, not the weekends. And I get my tea and my apple cider vinegar. I light my candle. I sit on my meditation pillow. I stretch my body. I meditate. I journal. I think about my intentions for the day. It takes about an hour. And I do it before the kids get up most of the time. Sometimes they get up early, but generally it's before the kids get up. And it's the biggest gift to have that space.
Power hour. Impressive. Now, we're very big readers here on the Amani Experience podcast. Voracious readers. If there was 1, 2, or 3 books you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and start to read them immediately, what books would you recommend?
Yes, there's this book called Turning Pro, which I love, and it's a really short read. I mean, you could read it probably in a day. It's all about this idea that if you want something, you need to show up for it and, like, do it. There's a lot of thinking that happens, but where's your action? And being professional. Like, what do real professionals do? They show up and get their work done, and they plan. And it's a great motivating book. Another one that I love is my first spiritual book is called Ask and It Is Given. It was where I first learned about the law of attraction and vibration and all those things. And whatever you believe that to be, I think there's spiritual words people attach to it, but it's really just nature and physics and energy and other things like that. It just it opened my mind. It doesn't matter if you believe how, like, the way that book came to be, because it's a little out there, but I believe it because when I read it, I was like, yeah, this is true. I've experienced this. And it helped me wrap my head around how I can feel to get the life that I want. So I love that book. I actually have a book, a blog post on Collective Gain. That's the 10 highest recommended books by coaches.
Okay. We can link to that in the show notes. Is there a few others that are on that list that you...
There's a lot. I mean, there's like the 4 Amendments. There's one I've read, or is that the 4 Agreements?
4 Agreements.
The 4 Agreements. The one I read recently that I love that's not on that list is called Jonathon Seagull. Oh. Have you ever read it?
No, tell us.
Okay. It's old. It's like from the 60s, 70s, somewhere. I don't know.
Better, yes.
And it is about this seagull who is trying to learn how to dive at very high speeds. And to the point where it's getting beat up. It's falling. It's hitting the ground because it can't stop. It's injuring itself. It's losing weight because it can't seem to, like, it's not learning to fish like all the other seagulls. It's like practicing. It's like obsessing about how to dive at high speeds and playing with its body. But the real story of it is that if you really want to be the best at something, you have to, like, go through the ringer, right? You got to, like, put it all out there. You got to challenge yourself. You got to do things that no one's ever done before to, like, experience something no one's ever experienced. And you may be ostracized, and you may get beat up, and you may push yourself to the limit. But what's on the other side of that is a knowing of what's possible for you.
Right.
And that is the best gift you can give yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Those are great book.
That's what I can
That's good.
remember right
That's
now.
good. That's perfect. Love it. So you said you're somewhat of a Giants fan. What we're going to do is we're going to say you're playing for the U.S. national team soccer team, women's team. You're walking out to the pitch, the field, if you don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And there's a song playing that's announcing you. What song is playing?
Ooh. I mean, a couple songs popped into mind that I don't think really make sense. First, it was like Beyonce, All the Single Ladies. And I'm like, what? Maybe because I just like that song. It's
You
like
wouldn't-
empowering with like the like butt thing.
Yes.
The other one is like Eye of the Tiger,
Okay.
like the Rocky Eye of the Tiger. Or like Pom Pom Americano. Do you know that song?
I don't, but we could find it. Put it
Yeah.
on.
I think it's from Spain. When we went to Mallorca one summer, there was playing a lot
Come
there.
da poca picchita va bene, si tu la parla miezza americano, quando si fa l'amore sotto la luna, come da bene in cave di I love you. Papa l'americano,
Pom Pom Americano. Boop, boop, ba-doo.
We'll put that on. That could be your song. Love it. All right, tell people how they can get in touch with you, like your social media and kind of your website and all that jazz.
Yeah, so website is collectivegain.com, Gain, collectivegain.com. Instagram is the same, at Collective Gain. Facebook is the same, at Collective Gain. If you'd like, my email is Lizzie, Lizzie, at collectivegain.com. And Twitter, I'm Lizzie Alberga. I don't really post on Twitter, though.
Okay. We'll still link it for you.
Yeah, thanks.
So before I ask you the final question, just want to say thank you very much for being on the show. Your humor is just fantastic. I love your mission. I love what you've been through to get to where you are now. It's very inspiring. So keep going. I'm glad that V Torres, Veronica, introduced us.
I
So
know.
shout out to
Veronica.
V Torres.
I
Yes,
love her
yes.
music.
Thank you. But yeah, just a pleasure. Definitely keep in touch, and I'm just gonna enjoy watching you as your company continues to go on its ascension. And we let our guests end the show with any last-minute words of wisdom or advice. So I'll say thank you again and allow you to take us home.
Awesome. Thank you. My words of advice are the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Done. She dropped the mic. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Amani Experience podcast. You can check out the show notes on amaniexperience.com/podcast. Feel free to email us at podcast@amaniexperience.com. Please remember to leave us a review on the platform you are listening on and share this podcast with anyone you feel would benefit from listening. See you soon on our next episode.